Namaste and greetings from Indic Academy to Professor Sundareswaran. It is such a privilege to meet a great scholar like you at Udupi at the venue of the Oriental Conference.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also take it as blessings to be here in the holy land of Udupi, Sri Krishna, and the birthplace of great preceptors and philosophers.
Absolutely. So I have put down a few questions, if I may start, and then we could talk about your research interests and your contribution. So Western scholars, they like to believe, following Sheldon Pollock, that Sanskrit study in India is finished and all the important work is being done by Westerners. So how can we challenge this, and what are the important research avenues that Indian Sanskritam scholars are following which can make the world sit up and take notice?
Regarding Sheldon Pollock's stand towards Sanskrit tradition and Sanskrit language and literature, I partly agree with him. This aspect is what you asked regarding his view that in India Sanskrit learning has come to a stop. No, I strongly disagree with him. In India, still traditional learning of Sanskrit and the knowledge systems embedded in Sanskrit is strongly going on, and there is wide scope, still more left, not so. 90% of the work remains to be done, and Indian scholars are able to do that without the help of assistance of Western scholars. While stating this, we should remember the fact that Western scholars have contributed richly to the study of Sanskrit because we were actually unaware of our potential. That potential and scope and relevance of the knowledge embedded in ancient tradition, ancient lower Sanskrit tradition was revealed by Westerners only. And they did it. They have been doing great work. As Satyavrata Shastriji, Professor Satyavrata Shastriji, when I interviewed him, I asked this question. See, some of the Indian scholars say that Westerners are destroying Sanskrit and just murdering. So he told, no, I disagree. Mlechahi yavanah pujyaha teshu shastram pratishthitam. This is a statement by Varaha Mihara, who wrote Brihat Samhita and Panchasiddhantika and Brihat Jataka. I respect. Satyavrata Shastriji told that they are rishis. I didn't say that they are like rishis. They are rishis. So you should respect that. I agree with that point. But when they say that Indians cannot do anything hereafter, it's a misconception. And Indians are doing. Actually, the Sanskrit tradition is getting amplified and strengthened. Young generation, people are coming, young people are coming, not only from traditional Sanskrit families, from other faculties also, from scientific field, technical field. People are coming to learn Sanskrit tradition, and now the trend has changed. Indian scholars try to bridge between the Sanskrit tradition and modern scientific tradition. So that is there. The Indians can do, are doing, and will do. That is my position.
Sure. So you're saying 90% of work is to be done. What does that consist of?
Yes. Because manuscripts containing the knowledge systems of India are remaining in many areas, especially in the field of scientific literature. You take, for example, I hail from Kerala. In Kerala, in private, public repositories as well as in private individuals and parties, a major bulk of manuscripts remain to be unearthed and published. And most of the works are, some of the works are edited, published, and even translated. But real study have not come. Studies have not come, yet to come. In many fields, whether it be mathematics or Ayurveda Kerala has got a strong tradition of mathematics in the medieval period, and Ayurveda also. Like that, I am talking about a tiny strip of land in the southernmost continent, southernmost part of the subcontinent. So, all over India, this is the case. Many of the manuscripts are to be unearthed and published, one. And the texts which have already been edited and published, new prints have to come. Say, for example, when we talk about Kerla School of Mathematics, many works are published. For example, Aryabhatiya Bhasha by Keļallūr Nīlakaņțha Somayājī, Tantra Sangra, translations have come. But if one gets all these works in one series or one volume, in series of volumes, it will be good. With all commentaries, translations. So, that work remains. I am talking about a small part of India, small land, piece of land. So, in the pan-Indian level, still remains. And the 85% of the work is that translating the knowledge and the procedure, the methodology, the thought process which was in India, that is pure, indigenous. That should be what you call translated into modern languages. When I say language, it is not a external language I speak. Internal language. So that work is a voluminous work that remains to be done. And happily, people have started realizing this fact and working. That is to be there. So I personally have a conviction that 90% of the work is to be done. Wide scope is there, and happily people have started and doing. Of course, we need not deny or disregard the assistance extended by Westerners. Not all the Westerners are against Indian tradition. We should not have that mentality at all.
Sir, you're talking about Kerala as a very small part, but in my visit last week, I see Kerala is representative of a very vibrant, alive repository, which is a living tradition in every aspect, whether it's Ayurveda, Tantra, or mathematics. Sri Vidya Upasana is so everything is so alive. So can Kerala become a role model for keeping these traditions and serve as a beacon for the rest of the country? And what is it about the land that makes it like people, even a small thing, they say 3 o'clock the temple opens and people are there. So what is it about that land that creates that?
Maybe whether I am not sure whether we can distinguish or discriminate between lands of Kerala. That is there, okay. But Kerala has got a long tradition. But whether your question was whether Kerala can be taken as a role model. That I don't know. I have to think. But there is many of the streams of ancient Indian tradition, not medieval, ancient traditions are still living in India. As you said, many vast areas, whether it be Jyotisha also.
Absolutely.
Jyotisha, predictive astrology, I mean.
Sir, if you go to Chota Nekara, it is like they are able to tell what is inside you, outside you, around you.
That vibe is there. That Tantric tradition, Yajnika tradition, Vedic tradition. The oldest stream of Vedic, the way of chanting, incantation, is still preserved in Kerala only. And the Yajna tradition. And up to medieval times, this unique characteristics, unique tradition was maintained. And this, if you take mathematics, it's wonderful. In the medieval times, many of the findings were anticipated by Keralites. It is well known that calculus actually began in Kerala, the idea, and it was recorded, documented. Yukti Bhasha is a Malayalam work written in Malayalam language. It was the first book to deal with calculus in a systematic manner, though it will not be using the modern terminology and phraseology, mathematical phraseology. Idea was there, flexion, the idea of curvature was there, studies were there, infinite series. So, rich tradition still lives many streams live in Kerala. But whether it can be taken as a role model is a question, because the onslaught of communism and the interaction and intervention, cultural as well as commercial intervention by many people, actually happened for the first time in Kerala.
That's
So that has made some, what do you call it?
Discordant note.
Yes.
Apaswaras.
Yes. That is caused, and that is the wonder is that even with all these adverse effects, Kerala still has this vibrant tradition. That is a wonderful thing. Whether it can be taken as a role model, I don't.
Because we, how do we know what is it that makes it sustained? Like, do we know?
We have to study. Yeah. We have to study into the tradition from different angles. Historical, cultural history, anthropology, like that, geographical. As you know, Kerala has preserved many of the great classics that have been produced elsewhere in India, from Kashmir, Shaiva Darshana, Abhinava Gupta, Abhinava Bharati, Natya Shastra, Arya Bhattiya, Arya Vanchashni Kalpa, many of the classes, even plays of Bhasa. So that is the particular peculiarity of the geographical position of Kerala, protected by Sakhya mountains and the ocean on the other side. So, but it is a wonderful thing. It is Kerala which has preserved many of the works.
Absolutely. So one more question is, how do we broaden Sanskritam study to include more people coming from an Indian English language background, as their inclusion can strengthen the Sanskritam force in the country? Is it possible to simplify and expand, or would we be going against the grain of the language?
Regarding this question, I will take in two ways. First, there is no meaning in popularizing Sanskrit to general public as a mere language. There is no meaning at all, because Sanskrit language represents a greater thing, a thought process, a prakriya, methodology. When we Indians say Shastra, it means this methodology. In Sanskrit parlance, it will be termed as Shastra Prakriya. Prakriya means procedure, thought process, methodology which is used. Shastra means it is methodology, not the final results. Final results. So, in order to realize the importance of this Prakriya, this outer language, external language is not at all necessary. But while saying that, we should remember that Sanskrit as a language is the vessel or the frame which contains the spirit of Prakriya or methodology or whatever you say. So, we have to preserve Sanskrit language as such. But popularizing and giving to the general public, diluting Sanskrit that is the second aspect. So, Sanskrit, the soul of Sanskrit is this particular methodology or being perfect classical. So, that should not be diluted. Of course, in popularizing Sanskrit, many institutions like Sanskrit Bharati, they have done great work and they are popularized it. But while doing that, this has also happened. This has also happened. Diluting in a way Sanskrit. And this Sanskrit is not a language, it is an internal language that we have to preserve and that we have to realize first, then preserve. Every field, it is there. That in Kerala, Kerala mathematics, there is one scholar, Nīlakaņțha Somayājī, he openly explicitly states that people, scholars should document. They should go on documenting things, whatever they observe, regarding planetary positions and the physical phenomena caused by celestial motions. They have to document and they should not reveal the final result. Because that will make the students complacent. So, final results should not be revealed. The prime and sole objective of Shastra is to impart training for the students to do research, methodology.
Yeah.
For that particular purpose, with that particular objective in mind, he has written a small work, Jyotirmimamsa. Actually, Professor K.V. Sharma, who has done tremendous work in Kerla School of Mathematics, he, while editing this work, Jyotirmimamsa, he has translated it into English as investigation on Mimamsa. I disagree with him. Mimamsa here doesn't mean investigation, though that term literally means investigation.
Yeah. No.
Here it is criticality, pariksha, not experimentation or investigation, but this methodology, process. That is Mimamsa. Because the classical system of Mimamsa philosophy, Purva Mimamsa, though it is well known as hermeneutics and Vakya Shastra, it actually puts forth a model for research, model for intellectual deliberation. That is what is meant by Nīlakaņțha Somayājī while titling the work as Jyotirmimamsa. So the research methodology you will get from this work. That is what he means by the term.
Wonderful, sir. So while Sanskrit is again continuation of this, is considered a highly refined and perfected language, many people wonder if the great proliferation of grammatical form, hundreds of grammatical variations, and in terms of declinations of nouns and pronouns and variations, so have been artificially constructed, some people say. And how do they play a role in this perfecting? Some people in the West have reacted saying it's a very indulgent, more like a code than a language, not necessary and does not serve a purpose, and and actually erects barriers for learning. So this is a continuation of the previous, but I think you have in some ways answered it.
Yes,
but
still I got to say something about this. What is the crux of the question?
So, the way the language is structured in terms of grammatical forms.
Is it artificially developed? That's the question now.
Yes.
Actually, Sanskrit language was not artificially developed. It was in good old days, in the Vedic literature and all, we find that people used Sanskrit for mundane purposes. As a language for communication. Day-to-day affairs, communication of day-to-day affairs. But in the medieval times, it was intentionally or unintentionally made as a very beautiful tool for intellectual transmittance and intellectual deliberation. So, this what you say perfection or this unwanted complexity with a grammatical discussion and strictures, that plays a great role. This is purely meant for, in medieval times, it has been done like that. It was purely meant for intellectual transaction. So in that level, okay. But there is another point. On the other side, the beauty of classical language is there. Beauty of classical Sanskrit is there. That is a lot to say about that. But that pristine purity of that classical language should be preserved. It is dead language in a sense, because for present day, day-to-day, communication, it won't be useful and it should not be used. That is my stand. But the classical purity and some uniqueness, characteristics of that language should be preserved, because it is a very beautiful and strong language for expressing anything under the sun. Anything.
Yeah.
Even new literary pieces can be translated. Even scientific studies, whatever, only this one, difficulty will come when new terms, when you say mouse, there's a CUP, like that, you will have to invent or discover a new coin, a new term, but gradually
it's being,
it is taken, and the language develops like that, only living languages. Though it is a dead language in the sense it is meant for intellectual transaction only, that classical beauty of classical language should not be tampered, should not be destroyed.
Yeah. So if we go to Vedic part, isn't there a need in the new era to unify the Vedantic doctrines of Dvaita, Advaita and Vishishta Advaita? Isn't it time to just talk about Vedanta and strengthening the following Vedanta instead of endlessly focusing on exclusive doctrines and debates? Of course, we will continue to venerate and enjoy the teachings of all the acharyas, but in an inclusive rather than a divisive way.
It's a long question. So
should we start looking at Vedanta as a whole? But we tend to, in academic circles, I have seen within many organizations, we still talk and see all of our philosophy only from our sampradaya, and it has become very dogmatic in many ways. So, isn't it time to unify?
No, that is my answer.
Okay.
Because you cannot unify all the Vedantas, because all the Vedantas have got, as you said, the sampradaya is there, and distinctness, the variety in unity, or another kind of
diversity.
Diversity in unity. That is the beauty of Indian tradition. So that should be kept intact, because for us Indians, philosophy is not to be deliberated, not to be discussed. It is to be practiced. So some people live Mimamsa. They don't learn Mimamsa. So some people, here when you come to Udupi, even small boys, children, they live the Dvaita Sampradaya.
That's true.
So that should be kept intact. That should not be destroyed, and the unification of Vedantas should not be done.
So in the deliberation,
unification we need not do. Actually, they are
absolutely
talking about one thing only. Different ways. From different ways they are talking. That's all. That difference should be kept intact.
Yes. So, can you talk about your research specifically, and how? I mean, so many aspects are there to your learning and your journey.
Actually,
how does it come together?
When you come to my research, my doctoral thesis was on Kerla School of Mathematics, and my interest, I am more interested in the Vedic studies, and the crux of my finding is that I have not written much on Vedic studies, one few articles only, but I have many findings. For example, there is every matter or every ingredient or elements, components to prepare a modern calendar in a Vedic chapter. Taittirīya Brāhmaņa. Vedic calendar means 12 months or 365 days. Each day is specifically named. Each night is named. Each muhurta is named. Muhurta is a small unit of time. So, in order to specify one particular short period of time, like 24 minutes, you need use only 3 terms or 2 terms. So it's so beautiful. So the total this one, to sum up about my research in Vedic literature, is that the Brahmana literature is a vast literature, voluminous literature that has not been studied properly. That is regarding Vedic research on Vedic studies. Kerala mathematics, lot of work have been done by people like Professors K. Ramasubramaniam, M.D. Srinivas, P.P. Divakaran. Work have been, they have been doing, great work have been done, but still remains. With this particular angle, Sanskrit, Shastra, Sanskrit language, everything, Indian tradition, stands for Prakriya, research methodology and research. So not for the final application. So, how to see, when you say the Madhava series is nothing but Tyler series, is nothing but Madhava series, you are just putting a fact. You have to go deep into the thing. What was their thought process? How did they work? What was their perspective on research? That is very important. So that's...
Yeah. So one last question. When we're talking about Viksit Bharat and the government is talking about India getting developed in the next 25 years, some people say the questions, when we talk about the future and modernity, we are not thinking actually about the future. We have to go back and ask the questions that our rishis and ancestors asked. So are those questions valid today? So we just ask the same questions from our knowledge.
Questions which rishis asked.
Yes, about like the inquiry they made. And if we do not get the same answers, then that system is not working for us. So what are the questions, like how do we take this knowledge to develop the country? Is it like, although we are now talking about application, what aspects of our culture are so critical for India to go in the path of development?
They are, I won't say critical, but very important, essential to realize the areas in which our rishis concentrated and the questions which they asked. But that is entirely a different thing, and modernity and carrying forward India to push forward to the prominence in the world, some map, that is the entire thing. This should not be used, exposed to others. It's our property, and we should realize the soul of our tradition. So that's a great thing that should not be exposed and used applied for this one, keeping modernity or progressing India, carrying forward India to modern times. Entirely different thing. In a subtle way, that can be used and employed. Very subtle way.
How is that? What could you? Yes,
it is by educating our children regarding this importance of this prakriya and the quintessential nature of those questions asked by rishis.
So we change the human himself, but we're not changing some externality. So we're just preparing the human to deal with whatever is.
Yes. That is what I mean. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for such a lovely and engaging conversation. I hope we get to interact again.